Destined Rivals cards have all been officially revealed, though I feel this may be the set to pop the current Pokemon bubble. Though before we get into today's video, I'm actually super excited to be giving away this Pikachu full art from Surging Sparks. Now, to know if you've been selected for this card, if I do reply to your comment and I add this specific Mew emoji, then congratulations, this card is being sent your way. And of course, if you are new to the channel, hi and welcome. My name is Phil and I try to simplify the world of Pokemon collectibles and Pokemon investing. Feel free to subscribe to join the journey. Though Destined Rivals, while exciting, has a lot of problems, right? And the things that we really need to cover is when we saw the artworks and, Glory of Team Rocket's kind of arts came out, a lot of people weren't that happy with them, and I'm going to be discussing kind of the artworks and the art direction more throughout this video as well. However, one area that I want to talk about when looking at this set is that I really think that Destined Rivals will actually be the final set that pops the kind of Pokemon hype bubble that we've been experiencing. And I already know what a lot of people are going to be saying. Wait, Phil, we got Mega Evolution cards. Hold on, Phil. 30th anniversary is coming out. Hold on, Phil. There's the black and white set. But the problem is, and what I think a lot of people are forgetting, is that Pokemon sets have never been this hard in history to get on release. This is totally abnormal. It's completely out of character. And really, the fact that it's already lasted more than 4 months is already way too long. Though not only that, right? I think Journey Together was a huge lesson to not overextend on sets before seeing the pull rate info and before seeing the cards inside the set. And don't forget, it also has really easy pull rates. It's kind of more in line with Stellar Crown than anything else. Now, Destined Rivals, maybe that's going to be the same thing, right? We don't have any news of pull rate data. And of course, I just want to go over some of the Destined Rivals cards. And now that we've kind of got the full reveals, check some of these out. So the first one here is Team Rocket's Nidoking. And I got to say, man, I do like this artwork. It's really reminiscent, this actual art style, of like that Giovanni's Nidoking from, all the way back in the day. It does bring back that nostalgia. And I think because of that, we are going to see a lot of people liking these cards, right? Now, another thing that we have to take into consideration is a lot of people over leverage themselves, with Journey Together, and we can see the market is really going the other direction because of that, right? I think now that we've seen the reveals, some people are kind of taking a step backwards because they want to see what's going to happen. Now, also, I just want to say some super exciting news, but I've actually teamed up with Collector and we are both giving away this Japanese PSA 10 Umbreon Master Ball Reverse Holo. You can enter the giveaway on my Discord, which is in the description of this video. Now, today's video is kindly sponsored by the Collector app. So the Collector app is a next generation collectible portfolio manager that both stores your collection info along with updating pricing data all in real time. So what's so incredible about Collector is that it literally updates card prices so you can track the price movements all in the one place. Now, also, if you do upgrade to Collector Pro, you actually do get access to the Max tab, which allows you to see pricing data which extends past 1 year. The Pro version also allows you to use your camera to scan your cards inside the app, making it very easy to add cards, which is a huge time saver. Feel free to check out the Collector app. You can find the link to download the app in the video's description. Though interestingly, when we also look at some of the recently sold for Destined Rivals, interesting things are happening. And this is why I'm saying, man, there may be a chance that this set does kind of make this Pokemon bubble and this hype period kind of deflate, which it should, right? Because I think this whole thing where people think you need to pre-order your set straight away, man, because if you don't pre-order, you're not going to get your set. Sure, I mean, it's true, you won't get a set if you don't pre-order at the moment, right? But at the same time, it's never been like that. So I don't know why this kind of new way of collecting has just come about. And I think it has to calm down sooner rather than later. I think a lot of people forget, right? Prismatic Evolutions, I talk about this a lot. Prismatic Evolutions kind of released in a perfect storm. You had Pokemon TCG Pocket release, and you also had the next Evolving Sky set, which was Prismatic Evolutions. So because of that, that was always going to be a really hyped set. Now, the problem is everyone's placing what happened with Prismatic Evolutions and they're applying the same intent across every Pokemon set. Now, when we saw what happened, everyone just said before Journey Together pull rates, before anything, no, this is going to be a crazy set. And we can see now the market's reversing. And look what's happening right now with Destined Rivals. You can see right here, the Scarlet and Violet Destined Rivals Elite Trainer Box selling for $139. Yes, that's very expensive for an ETB, but definitely not what we were kind of expecting where prices were heading. We can also see here a booster box selling for $285. Yes, incredibly expensive, but then at the same time, it's not as wild as what we saw before where they were selling for like 400 or 500 US. So we can see the market's having this slight pullback, and I think a lot of it to do is maybe some people weren't that excited with some of the cards. So the first one, and this was the most anticipated chase card of the set. I did expect we were going to get a Mewtwo SIR in the set, and of course it did come about, which is Team Rocket's Mewtwo. Really, really interesting card, interesting direction they took. I think, just the general consensus of these artworks, from what I've heard, a lot of people do not like them, right? When I'm looking at this Mewtwo, I kind of feel the position of it is very accurate to how Mewtwo is represented, and I think it's actually quite a good artwork. I like, that heroic angle they've positioned Mewtwo in. I think it's going to be quite an expensive card for Destined Rivals, and I think it's going to be desired, right? Though I would be super careful with pre-release prices with these cards, especially because we don't know the pull rates, and especially because Pokemon has really let so many people know that they're going to be reprinting Prismatic evolutions. They're working on the kind of production issues at the moment, right? Pokemon's openly said that. So for that reason, I wouldn't just be thinking, hey, pre-release price, oh, maybe I've got to get it now because it can just balloon out of control. We can see what's happening now with Surging Sparks Pikachu and, all the Journey Together cards. I think just taking your time with these cards, especially if you don't love these cards that much, man, do not just over leverage yourself on pre-release prices. I'd really wait some of these cards out. Now here we go on the next one, which is the Crobat EX. I really like this one as well. I think it's great that we're seeing some of these Pokemon get representation in special illustration rares, and this is a pretty cool artwork as well. I'm actually quite a fan of it, right? I love how you can see Team Rocket there. I love how you can see Golbat, Zubat, Crobat, all in the kind of one image. What's really cool about this as well, if you did play the Pokemon games growing up, everyone knows how much Zubat was just associated with Team Rocket. You would see it in the caves. It was always kind of one of those, associated with Team Rocket Pokemon. So I think it's really cool to see this. Do I think this is going to be a super expensive card? Probably not. And I think what's cool about Destined Rivals is I wouldn't really over leverage yourself on any of these cards, to be honest, man. I think that you can kind of play it how you want to play it at the moment. That's my own intuition for how I think the set's going to go. Though interestingly, I think now that, Glory of Team Rocket reveals, I think when we're looking back at some of the Heatwave Arena reveals for Destined Rivals that came out, a month or two before, I think they're actually looking pretty good. When I'm looking at the special illustration rare Garchomp, this is an awesome card, man. I actually think this one may be competing with Mewtwo for the top price. I think a lot of people love Cynthia, and Garchomp is such a fan favorite. So I'm going to be interested to see how this card goes. We can see in Heatwave Arena it's quite expensive. And of course, Ethan's Ho. I actually always kind of liked this card. I thought it was pretty cool. One of the first things I thought when I saw this card was, why isn't Ho-Oh kind of depicted in that kind of ferocious pose that we know it? Kind of like the Pokemon Gold cover. But now that I've seen the other reveals, I can kind of see that it really fits a cohesive artistic theme. So right now, out of the special illustration rares, this is definitely one of my favorites, but not my favorite, which I will show you in a second. And of course, we can see the Yanmega special illustration rare. Pretty cool card as well. I kind of, when I first saw it, I thought, is it going to be that good? But then I kind of remembered, when I see these cards in person, I can just tell the water and how the card's kind of designed that it's really going to pop with textures. So I'm actually kind of excited for this card. In terms of pricing, my kind of gut instinct is like Archelodon from Surging Sparks, the special illustration rare. That's where I'm kind of placing this Yanmega, but it's not all about pricing, right? It's about loving the cards. And if you do like Yanmega, you are getting it in a special illustration rare. But I think the top contender for the best artwork out of the special illustration rares is definitely the Moltres. This is a really, really well-designed card. And I think that this definitely could be the most expensive card just because how well the artwork is designed, man. Moltres' wings just go across the whole artwork. It looks gorgeous. This is a really, really good card. I think if all the artworks were of this kind of caliber, then we would be in quite a position with Destined Rivals. Then it would be kind of like, wow, what's going on? I think one card being this good doesn't really make all these people just get so obsessed with the set. And we can see that because it's had a little bit of a lukewarm reception now that all the reveals are out, that is going to help the prices maybe calm down. And especially with all the communication, like I said before, Pokemon said there's more coming out. It may be a good opportunity if you like some of these cards, but I am kind of feeling that this may be maybe in the top 2 most expensive cards. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the top chase card of Destined Rivals, but it's going to be very hard to compete with Mewtwo. It's kind of like, even though the Umbreon, I don't think that's the best card from Prismatic Evolutions, I think the Roaring Moon is, but because it's Umbreon, it kind of just gets that position. There may be that as well because the market just wants Mewtwo, so just because it's a Mewtwo, it gets the top position, right? So Moltres is competing with Ho-Oh, Garchomp, and Mewtwo for that top position, but in terms of the artwork, I think this is the best one for sure. And of course, when we move to the illustration rares, the Weezing is also pretty cool. I'm kind of liking the set, you know, like I do think it's cool. I know that general consensus isn't that good, but I think if you played the games and you collected the old school cards, they really did a good nostalgic theme for these. So I'm pretty excited to see how it goes. And of course, we can see the illustration rare Raticate. I didn't really get a good chance to see this card because the image I saw wasn't the highest quality, but now that I can see it pretty clearly, it is looking like it's got a lot of personality. And of course, illustration rares, we can see what can happen with them. We saw earlier this year how they all ballooned out of control. But I do think that, you know, now there's a bit of a pullback. The market's a little bit, I wouldn't say bearish is the word. I think people are just like, look, I'm not going to probably overspend that much on Pokemon cards right now, given the kind of climate of how things are going, right? I think people, especially with the summer period, you know, Destined Rivals, it is pretty good that it's releasing in that summer period time slot, because if you know, when it's the summer period for US and Europe, that's when things are a bit more calmer, right? That's when prices go down, traditionally speaking. And of course, you can see the illustration rare Houndoom. Luckily, I saw this now in good quality. This is a really cool artwork as well. I think this is going to be very desired because people, you know, Houndoom has such a big fan base, you know, Gen 2 classic, so I'm very excited to see how this goes. And of course, we can see the illustration rare Blaziken. Truthfully, I'm not that much of a fan of this one, to be honest. I think they could have done a fair bit better with it. And you know what? I'm looking at it. It kind of fits the kind of art style of Destined Rivals, which is cool. But in terms of if I pull this card, I'd probably sell it. You know, I don't have any connection to it at all. And it's a shame because I actually really love Blaziken. I love the Chilling Rain artwork of it. I thought that was really cool. I know a lot of people don't like that artwork. I absolutely love that artwork. So this one, I think it's actually a step backwards from what we saw in Chill and Rain. And of course, we have the illustration rare Shaymin, which I'm interested to see. If you do know about it, I always talk that Shaymin, you know, in Gen 4, when I played Pokemon, you know, Diamond and Pearl back in the day, always loved Shaymin. I could never get it because it was an event Pokemon. But still, this is actually one of the cards that I hope to get if I do pull some Destined Rivals packs. Hopefully I can get some for a decent price as well. Though, as Destined Rivals comes about, right, I think there's a broader discussion we need to have, and it's to do with the cost of Pokemon collecting. And I think right now it's smart to take it easy and not overspend on a lot of these new releases. And I actually do go in the best way to collect Pokemon cards on a budget within this video here. Within this video on screen, I look over the best ways to collect Pokemon cards on a budget. If you enjoyed this video, then the video that's appearing on screen is your obvious next choice. I'll see you on that video.